Today, I wanted to get into, what it looks like getting a deal from beginning to the end. And since Dr. Vaughn has graciously given us his time and decided to come on today, we're going to use his deal that he has right now available for anybody that's looking to lend. We'll use that deal as an example, exactly what this entire process will look like start to finish. So because we went over all the basics last week. We can hit them once again, just as a real quick recap, I think.
I'll hit it really quickly and then talk about how I found it. So Vita Bonita Ranch is what we're going to name it. It's 170 acres in New Mexico, and it's got a river running through it, the Mora River. It's got wildlife. It's got deer and elk and eagles and bobcats and awesome stuff, And it also has a 5,700 square foot house that is about 70% complete. I need to do a kitchen and some furnishings and stuff. And so that's part of it too, 5,700 square foot. And my dream is to turn into a glamping site with tent sites, that people can pitch their own tents. I'm also going to have some upscale boho safari tents for glamping, and eventually build some tiny homes on there. And what I want to do is go through the revenue side of that here in a second. But with technology today, with Airbnb and VRBO and all sorts of stuff, it's really easy to create your listing and then get bookings already from day one. So I'm going to plan on doing that. And that's phase one. Phase two, I'll eventually build out a convenience store and a laundromat, because with these tents and stuff, I'll have to do laundry, and maybe a little bar restaurant, because there's nothing really nearby in terms of groceries and stuff. And so when people go camping, they'll forget supplies and they'll want to do things. And if they have a long elk hunt, they'll want to come back and have a couple of drinks at the bar and stuff like that. But for right now, let's just do the math on this. We're going to have, if you guys have ever gone camping, a lot of times there's not much to do there. And usually it's just like one little piece of property, 1 acre lot or whatever. It's pretty rare to have a river or anything like that. And so with this property, not only do they get to camp, but they get to use all 170 acres. They get the river. We're going to do little games like cornhole. I'm going to dig out a beach area in the river for like a swimming hole and a little beach area. So there'll be lots of things to do there. And eventually we'll get to the point where we have like weekend summer camps for kids and for wounded warriors and all that sort of stuff. And we'll eventually have, horseback riding and four-wheelers and all that stuff. But we're going to keep it real simple to the tents, right? So if we do 20 tent sites at $50 a night, that's $1,000 a night. And there are 30 nights in the month. We'll just call it 30. So that's $30,000. And no, I know not all of them will be rented, but this is just showing you the total potential. And so if I do 10 safari tents at $120 a night, that's $1,200 for that night. If they're all rented out, that's $36,000 for the month. And that's the same thing with 5 tiny homes once we get all built out. Now, obviously, these numbers will change depending on how many total tent sites and homes and stuff I put on there, but this is a good working start. And you add this up, this is the monthly potential, $102,000. That's not bad. What do you think, Steven?
Absolutely, man. It adds up.
Now, obviously, people are going to camp more May, June, July, August, September. Winter months, it's not going to be this busy, but pretty much for any of these kind of glamp sites or RV parks, they're almost 100% full. Pretty much June, July, August, September. Almost, like I can almost guarantee it. If you've ever tried getting something, so we have 4 good months. But for a new person, sometimes they get too caught up in the deal. Like I've done the whole spreadsheet that shows like what you can expect during December, January, slower months, etc. But this is a great way to get started. And so when you do this, now you can sit there and go, well, Dr. V, what if it's, not totally all rented out? Well, let's say we only have half of it rented out, that's $50,000 a month, 51,000, right? And then you can do 80% or whatever it is that you want to do revenue projections. So what I'm trying to fundraise is $1 million. The purchase price on the ranch is $650,000. So that leaves me $350,000 worth of capital to build out these tent sites and safari tents. I'm going to build a road, access road, the beaches, the picnic tables, things like that. And but I'm raising $1 million, and the debt service on that at 12% is how much, Stephen?
120. Well, it's 120,000.
12,000 a month, right?
I think 10,000 a month actually.
Yeah, at 12%. It's
so 1
right?
million times 0.2.
No, you're right. 10.
Yeah, 10.
Debt service 10,000 a month. Yep, you're right. And so with like costs and everything, I'm guessing another $5,000 a month. Internet, Wi-Fi, water, whatever, helpers, employees.
You don't really have a whole lot. You don't really have a whole lot of expense, right? I mean, with that kind of glamping, there's not a whole lot there. So
no, I'll have a little helper, maybe a part-time check-in person to check in and out. And that's the other thing. I'm running this deal myself. So when you if you sign up for this deal, I'm actually going to be on site the vast majority of the time. I'm going to build it out. I'm going to run the crews. I have a background in flipping houses, like remodeling houses and stuff. I have a very good friend who is actually just here visiting this weekend, who's a ranch manager. He manages a 50,000 acre ranch. So he's very well versed with this area. And the other thing I'll say is this ranch is also in my girlfriend's hometown. So we're very familiar with the area. This is where she grew up. We have a lot of connections, friends, family. So this is not just something I found on the internet and I'm going into blind. We really know what we're doing here. So if the cost to run this thing is $15,000 and we could do potentially $100,000, we only need a few good months and to guarantee your money. That's a really good way to think about it.
Right.
When you're evaluating the deal.
Yeah, it has a lot of potential. And that's one thing we were kind of talking a little about earlier is, well, I guess, what are the risks associated with this? Like, what's like worst case scenario? If you just like, on one of your trips back and forth to managing back to your home in Texas, like what if the plane goes down and you something like that? Or I'm just saying, I mean, because as an investor, you also look at worst case, right? Worst case scenarios. And then Ethan had a couple of good questions on here too, we can hit too.
Yeah. So, and you came up with a really good idea. What I'd like to propose to you guys today is do what's called a Keyman Insurance policy. Since so much depends on me being there running it, but Erica will be there too. But let's just say something happens to me, then we'll put all of my investors on my insurance policy, my IBC policy, as beneficiaries. That way you're guaranteed an additional layer of security.
Yeah. So what we were talking about doing is, so he's raising $1 million. And the way that this looks, just so you guys know, is there's going to be one mortgage and then each investor, so it's minimum $50,000. Each investor is going to be proportional to that $1 million. So if there's 10 investors at $100,000 a piece, then that's obviously 10% of the million. So you basically are 10% of the overall deal in that scenario, not an equity side, just on the debt side. So what Duck can do and what he said he's willing to do, which I think is excellent, is, and the reason we talked about this, guys, and Dylan said he was thinking the same thing. Maureen said makes it more intriguing. Absolutely. Because, it is $1 million raise and the property itself, let's just say it's worth 650,000. I mean, that's what you're paying for it. So let's just say that's what the market value is, right? Maybe it's worth more than that. You're getting a good deal on it, but let's just say 650, right? So there is $350,000 in quote unquote risk involved, where if you were to go down or something before, in the middle of the development, or it just never actually goes, it never happens because of that, to make sure you're covered as an investor, he said, well, we'll just put, let's say my death benefit's $2 million on my policy. Well, I'll put $1 million beneficiary as the mortgage holders, and the other $1 million will be to my other beneficiaries. So he's gonna, Duck said he's gonna do that, and I'm sure he can show you guys that once it happens with the insurance company, once all the final mortgage and contract or everything in place. Maybe it's something you put along with the terms in there, Duck, along with the 5 nights of vacation each year for the 3 years and that kind of thing. So
yeah, but
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I think that's great. And what I'm offering is 12% interest, monthly payments of interest for 3 years. And at the end of 3 years, I'll give you back your principal. If you want to keep rolling with me and do the second fundraising or the second ranch or whatever, you say, Doc, just keep the money, we'll keep rolling. So an example of this, if someone put in 100,000 with me, they would get $1,000 a month for 12 months for 3 years. That's 36,000. At the end of 3 years, you get your 100,000 back. So you'd have a total of $136,000. And then you get 5 nights of vacation per year, 5 nights of vacation per year. And you can use that yourself to come see how the property's developing, or you can gift that. Imagine being, you want to build relationships with a business owner and you gift them 5 nights at this ranch. That'd be an awesome gift. I'm very easy to work with. The minimum, after talking to Chris, the minimum investment is only 50,000. I think that makes it very reachable for people. 5 nights of vacation, 12% interest.
Yeah. What's the minimum? 50,000. Yeah. Okay. So let me hit a couple of these questions as we're going here, Doctor. All right. So when lending from multiple accounts, self-directed IRA, infinite banking policy, personal funds, also from husband-wife accounts, how does the borrower make sure they don't break laws related to pooling money? So Ethan, so that kind of relates to self-directed IRAs. You always want to keep things separate. So in that case, if you wanted to invest using a self-directed IRA and also like your personal funds or something like that, or money from a infinite banking policy, which ultimately are just your personal funds, you can do that, but you'd have to do it in 2 separate transactions. So essentially, you'd have to do 2 separate $50,000 investments. So one of those would be, you would be an investor as, Ethan Evans, or it'd be Horizon Trust, self-directed IRA, FBO, Ethan Evans, and your account number. And so your self-directed IRA would actually own that part of the mortgage. And then if you wanted to lend from like your personal funds or from an IBC policy, for instance, then Ethan Evans or Mrs. Evans, your wife, either way, then that you would be titled on there as that person as well. So those would be 2 separate transactions, even though it's coming from you. So in that case, you'd have a total of $100,000 in the deal. It would just be 2 separate 50,000, because remember, a self-directed IRA, the funds, the 1,000 or, either the 500 a month or the 1,000 a month, whatever amount that you're putting in, 50,000 or 100,000, that 500 a month or that 1,000 a month coming back to you, and a self-directed IRA doesn't come to you. It goes directly back into your self-directed IRA. So you never see that money. Now, the money that you invest personally from an infinite banking policy, for instance, that money's coming back to you each month. So that $500,000 is just yours that you can use for whatever. So those would be 2 separate transactions.
But
hopefully,
just to be clear, and correct me if I'm wrong, Stephen, I was thinking that it could be 50,000 total from one individual. So if they took 25 from a self-directed IRA and 25 from their IBC, that would be okay, right? I would just have to send them 2 checks.
It would have to be separate. I mean, yeah, it's ultimately your deal, right? So the 50,000 is kind of an arbitrary number, but if you wanted to do that for somebody and maybe that's all that they have is 25 and 25, it sounds like just talk to Dr. V and
yeah, I'm at the minimum is 50,000 total for one person. Whether they get,
make sure that it just has to be 2 separate contracts. So if you don't mind doing 2 separate mortgages or 2 separate promissory notes for each, for one for the self-directed IRA, one for the individual, then yeah, if you're willing to do that, then that's great.
Yeah, that'd be fine. That'd be fine. I want to be very easy to work with, accessible, and I want to have great investors, you know. But talking about finding the deal, let's get back to the subject. This is actually, it started because this is my girlfriend. This is Erica's dream. She wants to do this. She's always wanted to have a hotel, resort, glamping site and do all sorts of horseback riding and trail riding. That's how she grew up. And so she's been bugging me about property. And I said, whatever it is, when it comes to land, you need a water source. You want some feature, a lake, a pond, lakefront, something. I prefer a river, something to go through. And so she found this one listing, and I looked at it, and we walked up to it. It was 56 acres. There was some issues with it. I didn't really like it. I told the real estate agent, hey, send me some more listings with rivers. And she sent me this one. And I fell in love with it. I was like, this is everything. This has everything we need, including Wi-Fi, cellular service. There, Steven's showing the house. That's the 5,700 square foot barnuminium that I'll use as a hunting lodge eventually. We'll build that out. It's got a cleaning station. There's the Mora River running through it. It's got twists and turns and meandering through the land. It's really nice. And these are actual pictures of my property. There's a meadow towards the top, and these are the views you're getting. These aren't stock photos from like something I Googled. These are the actual property pictures. That's the river, another view of the river. And it's where like valleys, like 3 valleys converge. So it's really beautiful there. There's a little beaver swimming or something swimming in my river. And then I think I posted, yep, there's the snow, and we're near like a ski lodge. Sipapu Ski Lodge is 15 miles away. Angel Fire, which is world-class skiing, is 30 miles away. Taos is 30 miles away. Santa Fe is an hour and a half away. It's Mora, M-O-R-A is the location. And this is the inside of the building. It's roughed out. So I'll finish that out real nice big fireplace, you know, the animal heads on the walls, that sort of stuff. Yeah. It's got a cleaning station. You know, I'm going to put in a big old kitchen because I can rent out the whole thing if I wanted to, like for family reunions or wedding celebrations and stuff like that. And you rent the whole property for $2,000 a night or whatever, and minimum 5 nights. That would cover our debt service right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously the industry that we're in, things like masterminds and different training events, networking events. I mean, something like that, where you have this where everybody can meet and then they all go to their separate little, you know, little mini homes or little safari tents afterwards. I mean, that's a hell of a group, building exercise, fun weekend type thing. Yeah. There's so much you can do.
Yep. And I have, and that 170 acres is usable, and it's got timber rights, mineral rights. And so it's got a good, like I could set up a ropes course. I could set up a zip line. There's lots to do on the property for a mastermind. And Chris has actually said he'd love to do a mastermind there. The other thing we should tell people, in case they don't know, is I have a pretty good social media following. So from day one, once I start telling people to come visit this tent site, I think we'll get booked up pretty quickly.
Yeah, so this is all on Private Money Club. So there's you on there. You can log in and look all of these again yourself.
Yeah. Or can I give out my cell phone number again?
Yes.
They were really nice. I never give out my cell phone number. This is the first time I did it. And everyone, the best thing to do, if you want more, if you're capable, please be respectful about that. You know, if you're capable and you're interested in having a discussion with me, send me a text. My cell phone is 832-607-5444. Send me a text. It's the best way to get a hold of me. I don't know, somebody can put that in the chat for me. There you go, Stephen. Thank you.
Yeah, Jill, so Dr. V has, so he's just saying he has all his business account, his business set up, the business bank account is now open, and he's putting the escrow money in initially. And then do you know when the contracts and things are supposed to be ready?
Yeah, I'm going to try to get those done this week. And then I'd like to get funded this week as much as possible. And at the very least, raise the 650. I'm almost there. Okay. But I'd like to get the full $1 million.
Okay. So And the people you've already spoken to, are you going to be emailing them that? Or are you going to contact them as soon as it's ready?
I'm going to be emailing them that. They have my personal cell phone. I'm really good about texting. I'll text you the link to see all the pictures that Steven just showed you. All of that. But
yeah, so Sarah, 50,000 would be 500 a month.
Yeah. If you're wanting the interest payment. Which
is awesome, right? I mean,
yeah,
you stick your money somewhere and get $500 a month coming in for the next 3 years of doing nothing, and a 5-night vacation every year for the next 3 years. How are you going to beat that?
Yeah, especially if you're going to stay in a safari tent or whatever. I mean, you're add to that, you know.
Right.
But the point about what I've done in the past, I've owned and flipped beach houses. I owned an RV park at one time. I've owned a small apartment. I've owned a trailer park at one point, and you know, thank goodness for people like Chris Rude, because I couldn't run it. You know, that's not my style. But you know, if you're interested in getting started, I would find something you really want to work on. You really want to enjoy. You know, when I was flipping beach houses as a resident, I would go there for the weekend and paint the walls myself and hang some sheetrock myself while I got to use the beach house and look at the stars and the beach and everything like that.
Yeah, so Austin would be 6,000 a year. So over the course of 3 years, you'd make 18,000.
Yeah. So your payback would be 68,000.
Right. All right. Does it cost to borrow anything more to put the lender on the title insurance? Does it matter whether there's inclusion on title insurance versus the note mortgage, saying that the lender would be covered before the borrower if there was any insurance loss? Yeah. So what'll happen on that is any insurance that you have on the property itself, Dr. V, whether it's on the home or you know, maybe just liability insurance. The way that works is just the lender is listed as additional insured. So Dr. V will have, you know, the lender is listed as additional insured on the policy.
Right.
So if something does happen, the lenders get paid out from the insurance company. And that's common practice with private loans. So that's the way that works.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why it's easier. You know, that's why we set the limit of 50,000, because then all these people are going to have to be named on insurance policies, on closing documents, etc. And so it would be easier if I just had one guy say, "Here's $1 million, Doc. Take my money. Let's go in business together. I'll be your banker," which would be great.
Yeah, or 5 people at 200 grand.
Or 5 people or whatever. The fewer I can get, the better. But in terms of doing the deals, I would find a deal that you are interested in. It's an area that you're interested in. If you don't really ever, like I said, like I'm just not that interested in mobile home parks, and it showed. But this ranch thing is really a passion project. It's a legacy play. It's cash flow play. It checks all my boxes. I get to become friends with my lenders. You know, I get to be in the fresh outdoors, you know, all of that stuff. I get to operate some heavy equipment.
Yeah, no, it's exactly. You got to have fun in life, right? I mean, if you can make money doing something you love, you'll never work another day in your life, right? So
and this is so upscale what I have pictured in my head. So I'll have social nights probably Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and I love to grill. So I'll grill up like 2 or 3 big old tomahawk steaks, and it'll be free. Just come as long, you know, have a glass of wine, and as long as the steaks last for the shrimp barbecue or whatever I'm making that night, and just get to know people.
Yeah. I have a feeling from your following on social media and then just the word of mouth you'll get from doing things like that, you know, just going above and beyond when people stay there at the property. Yeah. I think this place will market itself.
Yeah.
All right. So we talked a little bit about this last week. What's the deal with utilities? I know you said you can run them even to the backside of the mountain where you can.
Yeah, we have utility pole. Yep, the house there has utilities, has septic, has water, a well. We're having all the inspections done this week. And then there are power lines that run up the side of the mountains, because I have neighbors on either side that have houses further up. So I could totally tap off of that for utilities, but I'm trying to be eco-friendly. So I'm going to put in solar power, solar panels. I'm going to put in rainwater capture for outdoor showers and stuff like that. And I verified with my real estate agent, I can put in a well on the other side of the property too, so that I can have more water access if I really wanted to. That would be fine. And then other than that, man, we have cellular service and Wi-Fi service, which is pretty crazy up in the mountains to have. So that's really good.
Yeah, that's great too to have that, because a lot of those remote locations, as nice it is to unplug, you kind of want that option to be able to
Yeah.
call somebody or work for a few if you want to, like on a laptop, so that's
Yeah.
definitely a huge plus.
And then I guess the second thing I would say, Steven, since I want to keep it on the theme for you, is once you find a deal that you really like, it's really important to get it under contract. You want to control the deal so that you don't lose it to somebody else. You want a good deal. I mean, as long as you crunch the numbers and you think you're getting a good deal. I think for whatever reason, that seller's broker won't let us talk to the sellers, but I think they're going through a divorce. And I think that might be why. But this property should be $1 million property. Easy. Alone. And so they were asking 700,000. I got them down to 650. And I'll do the earnest money deposit today or tomorrow, and we'll be rocking and rolling. But you got to control the deal. Yeah. What do you think, Steven? It controls everything, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a buddy of mine right now that just put a contract on a house on the water here in South Florida. It's just a little tear down property, and he's going to build a big mansion and guest house on it and things like that. But same thing. I mean, he did a 21-day inspection period to lock it up. So now he has, the option over the next 21 days to decide if he wants it or not.
Yeah.
And so he can do all his homework. He can run all the numbers, talk to architects, double check where he can build water lines, what he can do with the dock,
yeah,
all that stuff, So yeah, you got to lock it in whenever you find.
And something. The other thing I would say is, like, some books will tell you, like, put $500 on the earnest money, or put $100. Try to get away with as little as you can. I did that in the past, but right now it's such a seller's market. You're going to lose that deal right now. So I didn't really argue their deposit. I initially had put like $1,000 earnest money down, and they came back at $15,000, and I was like, yeah, because what is 15,000 out of $1 million?
Right.
It's a drop in the bucket. You got to stop thinking from like scarcity mindset. If you're trying to close a $250,000 house, and you need to put at least $1,000, $2,000 down. What is that? That's nothing relative to the deal you might be making.
Yeah, no, especially in this market now. I mean, that's the way to lock up a deal. All cash, quick close, really. But I guess it depends where you are.
That's what I told them.
For sure. All right. So somebody just asking, when I'm trying to, how does the borrower, not the lender, not this deal specifically, but how does the borrower, not the lender, stay out of hot water as far as pooling money is like a fund? So yeah, Ethan, this is not a fund. So this is not an open fund. It's not a closed fund. What a fund is, like what a private fund is it pools a bunch of money together that can be used for various investment projects. For instance, like when the Safari Fund was going on, that's used specifically to fund the purchase of mobile home parks, but it's not a specific mobile home park that it's doing. It's open to whatever deals pop up or arise. And actually in private funds, you're not even in a first lien position because of that fact right there. So the fund becomes in first lien position, but you as the investor aren't actually listed. So this is more like a private loan. So this is more, you are the bank in this situation. So think of yourself like a bank. If I'm going to lend money as the bank, I'm going to have that property in first lien position, where if Duck doesn't come through with what he says he's going to come through as far as repaying me my monthly interest payments, I have the right to foreclose on that property and take it back from him, where then I control it and then I can sell it or develop it myself or whatever I want to do. So when you have a deal like this,
that's not going to happen.
Right. When you have a deal like this, though, you're in a lot more control actually than a private fund, because you do have those abilities. And that's why when you talk about like adding as the additional insured, on the property. When he's talking about using a life insurance policy, if the worst case scenario and he passes away, you'll still get paid back. So it's all risk versus reward. And when you look at, what this property's worth, what it is able to come in cash flow with very little minimum work being done. Like it's, with the insurances in place, with everything, with Duck's experience and his background and his financials and everything, that's all stuff that just, everything starts lowering the risk, at least in my opinion.
Right.
I'm just, that's what when I look at a deal, that's all the stuff that I think about. Like, what's the worst case? What happens if this goes wrong? What's that look like? And so that's why we're talking about all this stuff.
I want to reiterate what you said there. You brought up a good point. I had someone tell me, I was like, he's like, I'm a newbie investor. Like, what should I be looking for? And I said, man, this deal checks all the boxes. First of all, you look at the deal, you say it's beautiful. It sounds too good to be true, right? And then you have the cash flow. The numbers make sense. And then at the end of the day, who are you going into business with? Me. You got a surgeon. I'm not stupid, pretty smart. I'm a nice guy. I like to have fun. I'm easy to deal with. I'm going to be on site. So I'm not I'm not sitting down here in Houston, remotely managing the property. I want to be on site. We have the vision. We have the vision for growth. Erica's going to move on site. I mean, it's just going to be, and then now we're offering the Keyman Insurance policy. So you'll be named at that. You'll be named on the insurance policies. You're in first lien position. We haven't said that enough. You're in first lien position. You're the bank. When I was flipping houses, I had to go take out a loan, and the bank was in first lien position, and I was always screwed. Right. So this really checks a lot of the boxes. Plus the 5 nights of vacation, dude. Come hang out if you want to learn. You're going to have 5 nights on property with me and seeing how we run crews and do things and see how it changes from one year to the next.
Yeah, and this is a private money club deal, guys. So this is in the private money club. You should be a private money club member to reach out to Duck V and make that happen and invest in this. So just that's my caveat. But there's no offering memorandum. It's not a 506B or 506C. It's not a fund quiche. It's this is just a straight private lending deal. You're the mortgage. You're the note holder. You're the bank on this deal. So you're lending money directly. And what Dr. V is doing is just, instead of having one person have to come up with $1 million, he's just making the lending opportunity proportionate to how much you bring into the deal. So one more time, if 10 people bring $100,000 in, then 10% of that, 10% of that is yours, along with the other 9 people that have their portion. So if something was to happen, you guys would come together to foreclose and take the property over in that manner as partners. So that's the way that looks.
That's excellent.
Are you expecting to live there? You want to talk a little bit of that? I know you said you're going to go back and forth, but you want to talk about that again?
Yeah. So couple things. I'm in Houston. Once we close, Eric and I have agreed I'll probably spend 2 weeks up there at a time, come back for a weekend, whatever. We've decided this is going to be our vacation spot for the next couple of years. And then in the summer, when our 5-year-old is out of school, we'll spend all summer up there, and I'll come back to my house in Houston to check on it every now and then. And we're just going to keep that up. And I'm going to train an on-site manager so I get more time down here in Houston. And I have a 15-year-old daughter who's a sophomore in high school. And after 2 years, when she's graduating and goes off to college, Eric and I were talking about moving back to New Mexico. So at that point, we'd probably move back to Santa Fe and just be near the property. But yeah, so this is a personal passion project where my family and I are going to be a part. And that's the risk I'm taking on my side.
I love it, man. So Kishi, I love it. That's a good name. All right. I'm Stephen Kishi, just so you know. Chris is the other guy, not as good looking as me, but he's cool too.
Oh.
Dr. V, don't tell him I said that. All right. When do so if the money comes in this week, or let's say money starts rolling in Monday next week, when are you going to start paying out the distributions? Is it right away, the monthly payments?
Yeah, I think we need to get together and talk about that, because a lot depends on the closing date. So let's say right now we're scheduled to close April 1st. I would imagine your first check would go out May, the next month.
Okay. And it'll be 3 years from when that happens.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So there's some people that want to get on the list for phase 2 already. That's good. Jennifer and Sandra so far.
But let's raise the money and get this deal closed and up and running. Then we'll do all the other stuff too. And the other thing I didn't talk about is like, this is, it's on 2 tracts of land. So we could totally, sell one tract, keep another tract. I'm going to figure out who my neighbors are and see if they ever want to sell to us, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, what is your social media, Dr. Vaughn? How do people follow you? It's just Duck V, right?
Yeah, on Facebook, Dr. Vaughn. It's usually my name everywhere. On YouTube, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and Duck V has a big tribe. You do weight loss, right?
Yeah, I was a weight loss surgeon.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, I know a lot of our clients have come from you and they tell us about, how they really started getting healthy and then now they start working on their, wealthy, because it all kind of goes together, honestly, right?
Yeah.
I think I spelled your name. Oh, Vaughn. I wrote Vong. Oh, what happened?
Vong.
I was right, Doc V. It's VUONG. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay. Thanks, Tess. Where Vaughn came from. All right. Invested currently. Yeah, I know we have lots of opportunities, guys. But if anybody has it open, though, we're looking to get this thing funded like in the next week or two. So if you have money, you want to place right away, let's get this stuff going. One more time. Let's see. What is it? What's your number again? 832?
832-607-5444.
444. So just text Dr. V and you guys can hop on the phone or just chat back and forth via text any specific questions. But again, think to yourselves, if you have an IRA, is it an old IRA? Let's quickly get that moved over to a self-directed so we can get the money out real fast from there. If it's sitting in an infinite banking policy, get with your mapping specialist or let me know. I can help you request that loan, get the money out so we can get it over to them. Anything from a savings account to checking account, any funds like that are sitting around. Anybody that has equity in your home. I mean, a lot of equity right now. I mean, think about it. If you have $100,000 in equity, let's say your house is worth $500,000 and you owe $250 on it, right? You can tap into at least $100,000 in equity. So what that looks like, let's just do the math on that one time, Dr. V. So If we take, let's see here. I'll show you how to create some quick money out of doing nothing. All right. So here we go. So you have $100,000 in equity, right? So you take that $100,000 and you invest it at this deal at 12%. You're now making $1,000 a month.
Yep.
This is a HELOC. So let's see if you're paying let's just say a HELOC's what, 3.5%? So 100, 1, 2, 3 times 3, 5.
350.
Oops. Here we go. Times 0.035. 3.5 is a pretty good HELOC these days, right? So that's $291 a month. So minus 291. What's that? Where's my math people?
709.
So just go to your bank, call your bank, open up a HELOC, get $100,000. Say, Dr. V, this looks like an investment, makes sense to me. I want to invest with you. Wire the money to Dr. V's business, to whoever the escrow company is that's doing the closing. And then as soon as starting April or May 1st, you're going to start getting $1,000 a month in. You can take 291 of those dollars that you get in each month and pay it back to your HELOC. And then you're going to keep $709 a month for doing absolutely nothing else, just calling the bank and getting that HELOC started. So if you think an extra $209 a month for the next 3 years of your life for doing nothing sounds good, then what are you waiting on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I hate to simplify it, but it really is that simple.
All right. Thank you,
right,
Maureen. Maureen just sent me a message. Thank you, Maureen.
There we go. We got one text coming in. Is there a generator on site?
There's power. There's electricity, and then I'll have solar power too. And then we'll have backup generators for bad winter storms and stuff because you always need stuff like that.
There you go. Let's see, YouTube channel. Yeah, if you got the YouTube, that'd be good. What's the nearest airport to fly into?
Probably Santa Fe. But Albuquerque is about 2.5 hours away. Santa Fe is about an hour and a half away.
Okay. Nice remote location. I love it. Let's see. 5% HELOC, 4.875. Wow, they're going up, huh?
It's still $500
Right.
at 5%.
You don't mention to the bank, just don't mention to the bank that you are wanting to use your HELOC for business investing purposes. Right. This works. I just received a check. It's really, Dylan, it's really none of the bank's business, but I get what you're saying. This works. I just received a check in the mail for a deal. I'm watching this. Yeah. All right, cool. What other questions do you guys have about this? I mean, what would be holding you back, or what would you be thinking to yourselves like, I would like this if I understood this part of it, or something like that?
Can I give them another thing that I've learned through the years of doing real estate? So I guess I'm trying to teach them from my perspective, right? Let's say you're the one who found the deal. Well, you don't want to, average people make such a big deal about closing. And like, once I close, then I will start doing whatever. No, you need to be doing before you close. You got to already assume, you got to know you're going to close on this deal and start generating revenue, your fastest way to revenue. So if you're doing a flip, you better have your contractors already, you better have the plans already done, your color scheme picked out, your all that stuff in place. So by the time I close, we're gonna have our website ready. I told Erica, I said, I'm gonna already have bookings up before I close. So that's now I'm gonna give me maybe a week to build a few tent sites, but from day one, once I get the keys, I will show up with three dudes and start paving some trails and clearing some land for people to put tents on from day one. And that's the mistake, I think I made in the past, not having a handyman in place, not having, all that stuff, not having an account with Lowe's opened up. So you can use the same color scheme in every property, all that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's, we talk about this a lot when it comes to lending. I mean, if I'm evaluating a deal, there's three main things that you need to look at. So number one is the deal itself. Does that make sense? Do I think that in the economic environment that we're in, that this sort of deal makes sense? Like, as an example, if somebody came to me with like $1.5 million, $2.5 million single family mansion on the water that needs a complete either tear down or gut the whole inside and completely redo it, in this market right now, I think it could maybe make sense, but it's probably going to take a long time, where it's located, permitting issues, things like that. To me, that's super risky, because I think that the market's going to slow down soon and might see some pullback. And so any longer projects like that, to me, it doesn't make sense in these times, right?
I call that hot potato game. It's like, that game, hot potato, whoa, hot. So your job is to catch that potato, flip that house as fast as possible, and find the next idiot to buy it at a profit. And eventually somebody's going to get caught holding the bag. Right. And you don't want to be that person.
Right. Yeah. When you see markets like this, so then you say, okay, well, what would do well in a downturn, or what would do well if the economy slows, right? So in my eyes, things like affordable housing, so multifamily apartment complexes possibly, or mobile home parks, I still think are great, because if people do get foreclosed or hit a hard economic time, they still got to live somewhere, right? So affordable housing, or if it is a single family flip, something that the average person can still get into, that, like you said, can be turned over very, very quickly, get in, get out, get paid, right? So you always want that to happen. So that's what I'm looking at. Or something like this project here, like
revenue generation.
Yeah, you look at cash flow. So what is it going to generate in cash flow? And tent camping, safari camping, $50, $100 a night is very affordable, even in a recession, right? People aren't staying at the Ritz-Carlton. They're staying at things like this, but they're staying at things like this even in good economic times, because it's different. You can't get this experience going to downtown Miami, for instance, right? You have to fly out to somewhere like that. So it makes a lot of sense no matter what the economy is like.
And I haven't even considered this. That's just the camping. I haven't even talked about groceries. We're going to sell ice, firewood, and then the experiences like horseback riding and four-wheeling and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so many different income streams that you can create with it. So that's the other thing. If it cash flows, what happens if the cash flow stops or drops? Well, in this case, I mean, it's really not, right? I mean, it's not going to drop. It's already 50 or $100 a night. And then, what else, if you didn't rent out, if you only rented out, like you said, 50% or 10 or 80% of the nights, then what do the numbers look like? They're still good. And you're not even including all the other income streams that you just mentioned that you can still bring in. That all checks off the marks for the deal itself. And then once you look at the deal and all that makes sense, then I look at, well, who's behind the deal? Right. Mm-hmm. So who's the investor behind it that's managing it? And the fact, Duck V, that you have the experience not only in real estate, but also in marketing and also in sales and also in development and just the overall that you're not only, backing this project, but you're actually managing it yourself. You're going to be there handling every aspect of it, building it, being there to check people in, cook steaks for people, like oversee the whole thing on a regular basis. I mean, that's all very positive. So not only your background, but also the active and like you said, it's a passion project. So does the person believe in it? So if this is something you and your wife or something that you guys have always wanted to do and it's a dream and whatnot, then boom. I mean, that all gives me a better feeling about it, So you look at those things and you just look at the numbers, 12%, boom. I love that. Monthly interest, boom, I love that. Return at the end, I love that. Are there any other bonus? Oh, I get to go there for 5 nights a year to check it out and stay for free. Oh, I love that. Like, that's all stuff that you go into it. So that's always the checklist that I use. And then from there, it's just your final, does everything look good from a safety standpoint? So that's making sure, like you said, the mortgage and the promissory note's done properly, that you're protected in a first lien position, that it has the insurance coverages on there if something, out of your hands goes wrong. Like, I mean, there's no hurricanes there. I mean, I don't know. Is there tornado? I don't know what could go wrong from a
forest fire. If there was a forest fire.
Forest fires then. So, and then as long as all those little things check off from the legal side, then boom, it's a good deal. And I know you're doing all that right because you're using, good attorneys and stuff to draw all that up. So that's kind of what I run through, at least when I'm looking at a deal.
Yeah. Yeah, and as the person who's finding a deal yourself, you have to decide, like, is this something I want to, how active do I want to be at doing this thing? That phrase, passive income, it's so misleading. Every revenue income will require some sort of work. And just how much? I'm doing all the hard work. You're just looking up at some pictures, deciding if you trust me or you want to do the deal or not. And then you just sit back and wait. That's pretty passive.
Yeah, Mark said he just got a HELOC on his primary home for 2.75 for 5 years. That's great. Sounds like a mastermind in the future. Absolutely. Oh no, he said 2.25, even better.
Wow,
that's excellent, Mark.
Kill it.
Give Dr. V a call.
Send me a text, man.
Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah, somebody just sent me a text. I missed their name, but thank you. I got it.
Any permits needed from the state or the county to do any of the work?
Say again.
Do you know if they're going to require any permits from the state or the county?
Yeah, we'll get all of that. Yeah, okay. Yeah. My friend who's the ranch manager knows the sheriff, knows the mayor, knows all the people that we need to do to make sure we get these permits.
Yeah, Ruth. New Mexico is probably not as, I don't know how to say it, nutty as Massachusetts would be when it comes to things like that.
It's pretty nutty, but we're pretty remote. There's not like a really big town nearby. Mora is, even the closest big town, Mora, might be 1,500 people, maybe. There's a couple of gas stations, a couple of restaurants. There is an attorney.
Are there any other campsites remotely similar to this anywhere nearby?
No, nothing like this. There's a couple of wilderness things a little bit further away. They're booked out. There's one that we found that is tries to help rehabilitate some troubled youth. We saw their listing. And then there's a couple of just regular RV parks where you just pull in. There's nothing to do there. It's just like, it's a half-acre lot. You just pull in your RV for $50 a night or whatever. But nothing like what we're doing.
Okay. All right, cool. Let's see. That's all the questions we have coming in right now. Does anybody have anything on like the logistics side, like moving money, or I'm just trying to think of what other questions have you been getting, Dr. V? Anything else that we haven't really talked about?
No, I think we hit them pretty good. And just a couple of questions about first lien. You're in first lien position. You know, things like I said earlier, things to look for if you're a newbie investor, to know how to minimize your risk. I think we covered that. And I thought you used a great example. I would not, in today's market, would not do the bigger fool theory one where you buy a $500,000 house and try to list it the next day for 700,000. And I that's just really just, somebody's gonna get caught holding the bag.
Yeah.
And I would focus on cash flow. I mean, one of our mentors taught us a long time ago, the question you ask is, what's my fastest way to cash? What's my fastest way to cash? I'm like, oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah. And again, I mean, your debt service on this is 10,000 a month, and your expenses on the property, electric, all that stuff, let's just
Another
call it
5.
5,000. So 15,000 a month is your expenses total on this project.
Yeah.
You know, you bring it in on the low side, 50,000 a month just from those rents alone. That's pretty good ratio.
Yeah, and that we haven't even talked about hunting lodge, using it during the winter, selling hunting tags, elk and deer tags. You know, those go for $5,000 each. You know, so there's lots of sources of revenue.
All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. We're putting up tons of them, but I think if you like this one, you'll probably like that video as well. Click that alert button, actually smash that alert button, and you'll be notified every time we put a new video. So we'll see you on the next episode.